Can you give? Can you? Good evening. This is Sandal Fanan Taylor, and I am your host of Life After. Just want to say good evening to everyone. Tonight, I want to talk about life after. You may say, what is life after? What I'm speaking of is life after sexual abuse. I probably was about 5 years old when it happened to me for the first time. And I grew up, and when I turned about 20 years old, I started to have a lot of emotional problems. Now, I'm a singer by profession, and I just noticed that something was something was really wrong with my life and with my mind. And so I had to make a hard decision. Did I want to go on this way, or should I seek help? Well, my help came from God. I gave my life to Christ when I was about 24, and from there, my life changed dramatically. I know you may say, okay, you're fine now, but what about me? Every person's process is different. My process took, I don't know when it happened, but I looked up, it probably was about 10 or 15 years later that I found myself being free from the memories, free from the thoughts, and really being able to move forward with my life. Everybody's situation is different. You may be male, you may be female, but there is life after this violation has happened. And what I want to talk about tonight is being able to move forward, being able to walk in forgiveness. I had to learn how to forgive the persons that did those, terrible things to me. I had to learn how to forgive. And it was not easy, but it's doable. And it does not happen overnight. You may say, well, this happened to me and you just can't get past it. But what you have to know is that it does not happen overnight. And there is life after this situation, or even maybe it would happen multiple times. And that's how it was in my case. But there is life after. I gave my life to Christ, and that's when my life began to change. And I started a musical organization. I stated earlier that I'm a singer. I am an independent recording artist. And I started a musical organization called Amaya. And what that stands for is I am made in your image. And it's simply saying that you are made in the image of God. Once you have given your life over to Him, He will begin to change you. And He will begin to give you a new name. And that is what I want others to realize. You may be male or female, like I stated earlier, but once you give your life to Christ, there will be a change. I want to talk a little bit about forgiveness. Forgiveness. You may say, sister friend, you don't know what I've gone through, what I've been through. You don't know my situation, so how can you tell me how to forgive? But I can tell you, you can do it. I'm a living witness to that. God gave me a forgiving heart, so I was able to forgive those persons that violated me, and I was able to move on, but it did not happen overnight. But once you make up in your mind that you want to change and you do not want to relive these terrible memories, and you give your life over to God, there will be a change. Moving forward takes a lot of tenacity. Moving forward and moving past the event takes a lot of hard work, but it is doable. I'm a living witness to that. It is doable. You are able to do it. But it is God and you that will do the work. And it also, you have to do some work as well. God does the work through you. But say, for instance, you see that person. You say, I'm going to forgive. And you see that person. You have to forgive. You may see them at the family picnic or whoever it was that did this thing to you. You have to be able to look at them and say, I forgive you. I forgive you. I forgive you. Will it happen overnight? No, but it will happen. And what forgiveness does, it releases you. It releases you from the pain. It releases you from being attached to that negative event or attached to that person. Because as long as you will remember it in your mind, you will not be able to move forward. But I'm a living witness to that. You are able to move forward, and there is life after. There is life after. I remember the negative situations that happened in my life. There was a relative of mine. She was going through at the same time. And I remember, I look back on that, and I fast forward to today. I'm a person who has been set free, but she has not been set free. When I see her, it's been some years since I've seen her, but she's still having problems. And that is one of the reasons I started Amaya, I am made in your image. I want other men and women to know that there is life after. You do not have to relive those terrible memories. You do not have to think about it and have nightmares. There is life after this event, I promise you. Forgiveness is for you. You are able to forgive. And one of the things that I had to learn is I had to let go. Letting go takes a lot of transparency and a lot of tenacity, but you are able to do it with Christ. I also want to talk about tonight about reliving the past events. You may say, Sister Friend, you don't know what I've gone through. You haven't walked in my shoes, and you are absolutely right. But I've suffered at the hands of others. And one thing I want you all to know is that it is not your fault. So many times when people have been violated as a child, they don't tell anyone, and they keep it in, and they think that it is their fault. But what you have to realize is that it's not your fault. It was that person who chose to do those things to you, and it is not your fault at all. Understanding that will help you to propel forward. When you understand that it is not your fault, it wasn't your fault. It just wasn't your fault. I cannot say that enough. It is not your fault, and you are able to move forward with your life. Have you ever had just a vivid dream, or you've been watching a movie and the people just seem so happy, they're smiling, they're going out to eat, and they're just doing all these things, and you say, that's what I want. I want to be able to move forward. I want to be able to let this past be the past and move forward into my destiny. And you can do that. There is life after this terrible event, I promise you. And one of the things I realized in my own life is before I started to move forward and before I was able to forgive, I did not tell anyone. I kept it a secret. And that thing that happened to me, I did not tell anyone. I held it for 20 years. 20 years. And when I turned about 20 years old, I noticed a lot of emotional distress, a lot of emotional problems in my life. And I realized that it was because of those things that had happened to me. They caused me a lot of shame and pain. And those things caused me to have a lot of emotional problems. But I am a living witness today saying that you can have a life after if you just believe it. Settle it in your mind. Tell yourself, I will have life after this event. I will move forward. I will forgive those persons that did those things to me. And even you may see the person. Say, for instance, it's a person that's in your family or a close friend, and you see them all the time, and you have so much rage and so much bitterness and anger tied up it's on the inside of you, and you see that person. But I promise you, if you begin to rehearse in your mind, I will not let this take me down. I will not let this person take another day of my life. Learning how to forgive. That is what I had to do, and I promise you, you will not be sorry. Another thing I wanted to talk about is thinking about where you want to go in your life. Even get a piece of paper and write down the things that you want to do in your life. Because when you have a devastating event like sexual abuse, it tends to stump you, and it tends to cause you to be in a place where you're not even thinking straight, because your mind is on the negative events. But even get a piece of paper and write down the things, your goals and aspirations and dreams, those things that you want to accomplish in life. I've heard people say, well, I was on my way to a professional career and this thing happened to me, and I was unable to move forward, especially if it happened to you when you were, say 12 or 13 or when you were a little bit older. But if it happened to you as a child and you held it and you say, okay, I want to move forward, get a piece of paper out. Write down those things. Remember those things that you wanted to do. I don't know when it happened to you. I know when it happened to me, but I don't know when it happened to you. And as you begin to think of the things that you want to do in your life, and you write them down and you study them and you look at them and you say to yourself, this is what I am going to accomplish. With God, I will be able to accomplish all these things on this sheet. Sometimes it takes looking on that piece of paper and remembering the things that you once wanted to do, but because of the bad memories and the negative events that happened, it has caused you to be at a standstill. But I say to you today that there is life after. Write down those things, move forward in those goals, but one day at a time. My deliverance did not happen overnight. It did not happen overnight, but it happened. And it will happen to you if you allow it. Shut your mind off to the negative memories and call to God and say, God, I need your help. That is what I did. I gave my life to the Lord when I was 22 years old. Well, I say 25 years old, excuse me. And my life has not been the same. But it has to be a point where you make it up in your mind that I'm going to be happy, I'm going to live a productive life, and you will be able to do it. You have to settle it in your mind. Sometimes thinking on it, you haven't thought on it because these things have happened to you. You haven't even moved past that event, and I can understand that. But I'm here to tell you today that there's life after. You will succeed and you will move forward. It's all up to you. So get that piece of paper out and remember your goals and your aspirations, those things that have even gotten away from you over the years. Look at that paper and say, you know what? I remember when I said I wanted to do this and do this and do this. But because of negative event, it snatched your dreams and your visions away from you. But I'm here to tell you today, it is time to get them back. It is time to move forward with your life and with your destiny. And another thing I want to talk on tonight, discussing life after. Envision yourself with peace. The situation happened in my life when I was 5 years old. I did not have peace. Of course, I was so young. But as I began to get older and more mature, I did not have the peace that I wanted to have. I did not have the peace that I should have. All because of one person or the different people in my life that made a decision to violate me. I did not have any peace. But let me tell you, there is life after your event. And you can have peace in your mind. You can go to bed at night knowing that you are made whole. But it's all up to you. It's all up to you. Let God do the work in your life and let him change you. There is life after this, I promise you. I was, had to be about 2 weeks ago, I was looking on YouTube and I saw different women and men who had gone through sexual molestation or sexual abuse as children. And they all had different stories and they all had a different pain. But guess what? It was pain altogether. One woman was going through problems because she had been sexually abused as a teenager. One man or one woman, she said that she had been violated when she was 10 years old. Everyone's story is different. Everyone had a different age that the situation happened to them. But I promise you, you can have life after. I'm so grateful to be with you tonight. Once again, my name is Sandal Fanon Taylor. I am an independent recording artist, but I also had a need. I felt, should I say, there was a need in my eyes for men and women to understand that you are made in God's image. Amaya stands for I am made in your image. And it is simply saying, I'm no longer who I was. I am made in the image of the Almighty God. Once I've given my life over to Him, I am made in His image, and I am no longer that broken person. You are no longer that broken person. You are no longer that child or that teenager that suffered abuse at the hands of someone else. You are no longer that person. When you are made in His image, He comes in and creates in you a clean heart, and He makes you new. He makes you new. And so I want you to be encouraged tonight. Be encouraged to know that your life will change and it will get better. Envision yourself living a happy, fulfilled life. Negative events, they do not have to say this is who you're going to be. Those negative events will not define you. Those negative events will not define you. Those things happened at the hands of someone else, and a lot of times that person is sick themselves. A lot of times it has been done to them. So they feel like this is okay to do to someone else, but it is not. But understand that this person has been violated themselves in some cases. So forgiveness. I cannot stress it enough. And take one day at a time, should I say. One day at a time. One prayer at a time. Knowing that your destiny waits. Your destiny awaits you. Living the life that God would have for you to live and being made in His image is the only way that you will live. Camera's not available. I don't know when it cut off. Let's see. Continue. How long do I have? How much longer do I have? Okay. Okay. You said 10 or 5 minutes? Okay. Will you give me a cue or something that the time is up? Yep. Okay. Once again, this is Sandal Fanon Taylor, and I'm your host of Life After. Life after child sexual assault. Like I stated earlier, I was a victim of child sexual assault when I was 5 years old, and it was a close relative. And I told no one until I was 25 years old. And I started a musical organization recently entitled I'm Made in Your Image. And it simply stands for I am made in your image. You're made in the image of God, should I say. Maya is the acronym, but it stands for I'm made in your image. So many people have suffered at the hands of someone else. A lot of times it's children, because children are very small. Children are more vulnerable. And so child sexual abuse happens all over the country. It has no nationality. It has no name. It has no it doesn't discriminate, should I say. And I was 5 years old, I stated earlier, and didn't tell anyone until I was 25 years old. But I noticed when I turned about 20 years old, there were a lot of problems. I had severe emotional problems because of what was done. And I probably was about 25 when I gave my life to Christ, and my life changed. I changed over time, God changed my mind. He changed my heart. He gave me a forgiving heart so that I could say, I am sorry to the violators. I am here to tell you that life after, there is life after. And there's so many people that have suffered. So many people who have suffered. And I like to tell my story. I like to use myself as an example of living a life that God would have you to live. It took me 20 years to even tell anyone what had happened because I was so ashamed. And when God came in my life, He began to gradually take away the guilt, the hurt, the shame. Some of you have been violated as a child and you told no one, and you actually thought it was your fault. And so you have guilt. Today I want to say there is life after. You can let the guilt go. You can live a productive life. You can have life and have life more abundantly. But it takes God. It takes Him coming in your life. And it takes Him doing and work on your heart. When I was able to look at the person that had sexually abused me and looked him in the face and said, I forgive you, that took a forgiving heart. I did not do that on my own. God was the one who helped me with that. So I want everyone that's listening to be encouraged. Be encouraged and know that your life is good in God's hands. Okay. Now I have a question. This broadcast is going to be this is radio, correct? Okay, so the only way that people will be able to view it is if they download the app. Okay, so on YouTube too? Okay. Now, do you all do like editing, cut out certain things, or how does that work? I'm sorry, you said what now?
I said my boss is not here, so I can't really.
Okay. All right. Well, I thank you so much, Mr. Nigel. Appreciate you. Talk to my sister.